Welcome back to the Chromperfect Beginner Training Series. We continue with Section 2, Chromperfect Files and Method Fundamentals. This is Chapter 3, where we're going to discover what a method really controls inside Chromperfect, and just as importantly, what it does not control. A method file is used to process data. This can happen during live acquisition or later during batch reprocessing of existing data files. When you first open the method editor, the number of tabs can feel overwhelming. The key to understanding this screen is not memorizing every field. It is understanding control boundaries. Only acquisition parameters determine whether a sample must be rerun. Everything else controls interpretation, reporting, or output. Let's move through the tabs in order. We begin with the Acquisition tab. The Acquisition tab defines how raw data is physically collected from the instrument. This includes parameters such as data samples per second, runtime, and channel assignment. These settings directly determine the content of the data file that is created. If the sampling rate is too low, peak detail can be lost. If the runtime is too short, peaks may be truncated or not recorded. If the wrong channel is selected, the expected signal may not be recorded at all. If any of these settings are incorrect, the only solution is to rerun the sample. You may also see a linked setpoint file on this tab. A setpoint file defines instrument control conditions, such as temperature programs or flow settings. While not every workflow uses them, incorrect instrument conditions can produce scientifically invalid data. In those cases, the sample must also be rerun. The setpoint file is not embedded inside the method file. It is a separate file that the method references. You can open it directly from the method editor by clicking the small Open button next to the setpoint file name. Acquisition settings define what the instrument records. They cannot be corrected after the run. Next is the Events tab. The Events tab contains timed integration events. These are instructions that modify how the chromatogram is interpreted at specific times during the run. Events do not change raw data. They change how peaks are interpreted. Some events act at a single moment, such as forcing a baseline action at a specific time. Others operate over a defined time window, such as modifying baseline behavior between two time points. Changing events can change calculated peak areas and therefore change reported results. However, they do not require the sample to be rerun. The raw data remains intact. Next is the Processing tab. The Processing tab is one of the most important tabs in the method file. This is where integration parameters are defined. Settings such as threshold, peak width, and other integration controls determine how peaks are detected, integrated, and quantified. These settings affect how Chromperfect interprets the signal contained in the data file. They can significantly influence calculated areas and quantitative results. However, processing settings do not change raw data. If these settings are incorrect, you do not rerun the sample. You reprocess the existing data file. You may also see a linked calibration file referenced on the Processing tab. The calibration file defines component names, retention windows, response factors, and calibration curves used for quantitation. The method does not store calibration values internally. It references a separate calibration file. Like the setpoint file, the calibration file can be opened directly from the method editor by clicking the small Open button next to the calibration file name. If the calibration file is updated or replaced, the data can be reprocessed to generate new quantitative results without rerunning the sample. The key distinction remains clear. Acquisition defines the data. Processing and calibration define interpretation. Next is the Report tab. The Report tab defines what reports are generated from processed data. Chromperfect allows a single method file to contain multiple reports. You may configure a detailed chromatographic report for the analyst and a simplified summary or suitability report for supervisory review, all within the same method. Reports do not need to be physical. Chromperfect supports a variety of digital formats to allow automated data transfer to other platforms such as databases or LIMS. You will see options for fixed format reports and formatted reports. Formatted reports can be inserted, removed, and reordered within the method. Report settings affect output only. They do not change raw data, and they do not change integration. They define how results are presented. Next is the Plot tab. The Plot tab controls how the chromatogram is displayed and how it appears in printed or formatted reports. This includes scaling behavior and display configuration. These settings influence presentation, not acquisition, and not quantitative interpretation. Next is the Plot Options tab. Plot options define additional display behaviors, such as labeling and visual presentation elements. These settings mirror options available in the Analyze program. Again, these are presentation controls. They do not affect raw data or integration logic. Next is the User Programs tab. User programs allow external programs or automation routines to be triggered during acquisition or processing. This feature is powerful in automated laboratory environments. For beginner workflows, it is enough to understand that this capability exists. It is not required for standard acquisition and analysis. Next is the Units tab. The Units tab defines measurement units used in reporting and display. It determines how values are expressed, not how they are calculated at the raw signal level. After this point, you may notice several additional tabs that support specialized or advanced workflows. These include SEC, SEC Plot, and SEC Cal Plot. SEC refers to size exclusion chromatography, a specialized chromatographic technique used in molecular weight analysis. These tabs provide tools specific to SEC workflows and are outside the scope of this beginner series. You will see the Miscellaneous tab. This tab contains general method metadata and minor configuration settings. It does not fundamentally alter acquisition or integration logic. Finally, there are two application tabs labeled Alignment and Instep. These are advanced or add-on tools used in specific applications. They are acknowledged here so you are aware of them, but they are not part of the core beginner workflow. Now let's step back. A method file does not control file naming. File naming is handled during download or through sequence automation. A method file does not permanently alter raw data. Raw data is preserved. A method file defines how raw data is acquired, how it is interpreted, how it is calibrated, and how it is reported. A method file can also reference external supporting files, including a calibration file and an instrument control setpoint file where applicable. It can also reference external formatted report files, and you can include multiple formatted report definitions within a single method. A method file is not only used during live data acquisition. The same method can also be applied later during batch processing. In fact, Chromperfect uses the same processing engine whether data is being processed during acquisition or reprocessed later. It is common for laboratories to use one method during acquisition and then apply a separate method for batch reprocessing. This allows updated integration parameters or revised calibration settings to be applied to existing data without rerunning samples. Batch processing can be applied to individual files or to an entire sequence file list. If acquisition settings are wrong, you rerun. If processing, calibration, or reporting settings are wrong, you reprocess. That distinction is the foundation of understanding Chromperfect. Congratulations! You have completed Section 2, Chapter 3. In Chapter 4, we will examine how method files and solution files relate to each other and how configuration can be packaged for structured workflow management. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon so you are updated when we upload new videos. For more information or to reach out to our team, please visit www.chromeperfect.com.